What is up, ladies and gentlemen of YouTube? Austin in China coming at you live from Longchang, Sichuan, China. Yeah, I'm not actually at my house in Chengdu, which is why things are a little bit different. There's a street directly behind me right here. The lighting's not so great, but I'm really excited for tonight's live stream because it's sort of my first crack at interviewing somebody. I've never really interviewed someone before. It's someone that I had on, I think my last live stream was, in fact, with this gentleman. And yeah, last time we talked about him and his Chinese community and things like that. But today I wanted to just kind of get to know him on a personal level. We're going to talk to him and just get a little bit of his story. I'm going to ask him some questions about his background, and then I'm going to see how well he knows his own YouTube channel. I'm going to give him a little quiz on his own videos and see how he does. And I can see him in the studio back, like he had no idea that was coming. So yeah, it's going to be good. It's going to be good. So yeah, without much else, well, actually, I'm going to wait a little bit before bringing him on, just so a few other people can get into the chat. And yeah, if you're new here, then please check out Quay Jo's channel. I'll be putting the link in sporadically throughout the broadcast, as well as well, some other things. All right, so now I'm going to bring him on, the one and only Quay Jo Elementary Chinese. There he is.
You are not quizzing me on my own channel. You did not tell me that. Okay, fine.
No, I did not tell you that. I thought it would be a nice surprise. I also wanted to see your reaction.
Wow.
I do.
Okay,
well, there's only 4 questions.
Okay.
So it's not a long quiz, but yeah, it'll be fun.
I have no idea what you're about to ask me. Let's go. Let's go.
We'll get into that a little bit later. So just to kind of break the ice, just to get talking, I'm going to start with the hard-hitting questions. Which one, if you had to choose, which one would you rather have? A baby koala or a baby fox? Hard-hitting questions.
Right away, the fox, because I hear koalas are actually kind of vicious, and it's not going to be a baby later. But that's based on my limited knowledge, and I had no idea you were going to ask me that. The fox.
Okay. All right. Yeah. Sometimes it's fun to split the audience into camps immediately when the live stream starts.
Baby fox.
Because it's almost like a cat question or a dog question, like cats or dogs kind of thing. Because I was thinking in terms of energy, because koala, chill, like don't need to do too much, or fox runs around. You might have to play with it, maintain it.
Oh geez, I'm the chill person, but still, baby fox. I have to stick with my decision. Baby fox.
Okay. And one question, just I'm gonna make this a regular question in other future interviews that I do.
Guinea pig.
And yeah, because you are my first ever sort of interview. But one question that a lot of people just really enjoy hearing the answers to and just talking about is, what food would you never, under any circumstances, eat?
Oh geez, it would have to be something I've heard people doing in China, which would be the brain of any kind. I'm just not sampling brain.
Okay, brains. So what is it about brains that kind of turns you off?
The cerebral part? No, I'm psyching myself out here. Maybe they taste kind of good, but I'm just thinking like, it's the brain, it's in the skull. Like that would be
So
do they actually even serve that, or is that a myth? Is that a myth, or do they actually serve brains?
No, for real. Yeah. It's pretty common in Sichuan. What's common, especially in hot pot, you'll get it in in hot pot, or you can get it in like barbecue. Yeah. They'll put it in like a little dish with like various spices and peppers and things, and then you go for it.
So it's
Yeah,
just I'm psyching myself out. Like it probably tastes like some other meat with spices and everything, but mentally, I just can't.
okay.
I won't.
Okay. All right. So, are you one of those people who, if if someone puts a brain in front of you, you obviously know it's a brain. But like, if someone just puts a dish in front of you in China, are you the kind of person who just reaches in and goes for it, no questions, or do you want to know about it first?
I want to wait for someone else who's Chinese, who's treating me, to sample a bit first culturally.
Okay. So you want to make sure it's not poisoned.
I want to make sure that is not poison. I don't want to eat before the big boss, and I will ask what it is, but generally I'll go ahead and take a chopstick full because, like it's respect, right? Whoever I'm with bought me some food. I'm probably going to at least sample a little bit, but if it's braids, I might have to sample some of like the vegetables in there or the garnish around there, like the brain juice. The brain juice could be okay, but just not the actual brain meat. I'll do it for respect. I'm a pretty respectful.
Okay.
Or I'll joke and say that I'm pregnant or something, and it would affect the baby, and they'll laugh and I'll laugh, and then I'll only touch the vegetables around it.
Yeah, that's actually a really good thing to do. Is like if there's a food that you don't want to have, or if you don't want to drink that night, then you need to tell the Chinese people that you are 备孕, which means like you're getting ready to have a baby, and then automatically they will leave you alone.
Right.
Automatically, like no matter what it is. Like I remember, like I had quit smoking at the time, and I didn't want to smoke, and people were offering me cigarettes. I said, no, thank you. No, thank you. No, thank you. No, thank you. And then I was like, oh, Beiyun. And they're, oh, you can't have this. Or like Quay Jo, or like various foods.
Oh,
yeah.
okay.
So, yeah, it's
even though it's the guy joking saying that, it's okay.
Well, yeah, because like at least in this part of China, there is a sort of responsibility on both parties there's a responsibility kind of on both parties to prepare for the baby. So in the months leading up to you like getting pregnant, or
it looks like
anticipating getting
up a bit. I'll carry you on.
Okay. So yeah, if you're expecting to expect, then like you start getting rid of certain problematic foods, problematic drinks. You start getting your diet together and things like that. And the guy and the girl both do that, at least in Sichuan for a few months. Yeah, they both do it. Yeah.
Okay. So it really is. It's not like a joking thing. It's like actually the husband and wife both do that. So
it's a thing. Yeah, it's a thing. Yeah.
Cool.
It got me out of that stuff. So but I'm not having a baby. I just said we decided to do it later. So
okay. Beiyun.
Yeah, Beiyun. Yeah, it's a good one. Yeah,
cool.
Preparing for a kid. Okay, but so we got food out of the way. We got our baby koalas. Now we're talking. We're having a conversation. Everything's good. And I kind of want to talk to you as you, because when I was trying to do like research on you, I couldn't really find anything because for the people who are just tuning in and maybe haven't seen your stuff before, your name is Quay Jo. It's a very unique name, and so that's the only name that I have for you. So I searched that. I couldn't find anything except some guy on Facebook who is really good at drumming.
Oh, okay.
But that's all I could find. So why don't we just take a little bit, and why don't you just tell the people kind of about who you are? So the origins of the Quay. Let's get some. Why don't you just tell the people a little bit about yourself, where you're from, where Chinese people think you're from, kind of.
Okay. Cool.
How you got to where you are.
I'll give you the origins of the Quay. First of all, though, the reason you couldn't find anything about me is because that's not how I spell my name.
What?
First of all,
But that's what's on your YouTube channel. What's going on?
Exactly. So you want the origins? I'll give you the full meal deal. First of all, I put my name into the chat. That's how you spell my name. And the reason is that people look at me and they look at my name and they're like, huh, what is that? So I tried to change it to a way where like sort of Americanized IPA or like spelling rules, pronunciation rules. That's what I'm thinking about.
Okay.
People could look at it and pronounce it like that. So that's first of all why you see it on all social medias, because I tried to make it look a little friendlier. But historically, my dad. So first, Chinese people always look at me and they think that I am an African because, of course, Black people can only come from the continent of Africa. Of course, when I say, well, what about Black people can't come from the USA, where I'm from? I was born and raised in Tacoma, which is a small city, 273,000-ish people, near Seattle, Washington, which is in the Northwest.
Okay.
And I'm like, Black people can't come from the USA? And they're like, no, Black people come from Africa. And not every Chinese person, before your Chinese followers get incensed and flame up, not every Chinese person thinks that Black people can only come from Africa, but in general, probably 8.5 times out of 10, I get this conversation. And I'm like, Black people can't come from America. Sometimes, maybe 2 or 3 times out of 10, a Chinese person will argue with me and say that, no, Black people aren't from the USA. And then I will, only for those minority of Chinese folks that want to argue, I will say, well, then where does Kobe Bryant come from? Or where did he come from? God rest his soul.
That's good. That's good, actually. Right? I never thought of that.
Rest in peace, Kobe Bryant. But if you want to see the mental gears come to a halt, because everybody in China knows Kobe Bryant, they'll be like, NBA from the States. And I'll be like, right. So there's Black people in the States. But, and actually, I've even met Black people, they're the minority, but who actually were born in China or born in Korea, actually. Anyway, getting back to the story.
Okay.
They're usually, Embassy Kid is one, who I cannot say the name because of the sensitivity of her parents, but Embassy Kid is one, grew up actually in China, you know, very, anyway, but actually my father was born in Ghana, which is in Africa, not Guyana, which is in South America. And he immigrated to the USA and then had me like 4 years later with my mom, who is American by birth. So then when I tell Chinese people that, they're like, see, I told you, all Black people come from,
African.
So the rest is really simple. I went to the University of Washington where I first started studying Chinese, and please don't make the mistake that I made when I was studying Chinese, which I did not speak to Chinese people, even though there were tons of Chinese people in the University of Washington on the west coast of the U.S. 1 year later, I went to China to Zhongyang Minzu Daxue, Central University for Nationalities in Beijing, studied 2 years there, 4 semesters of intensive Chinese. Then I went back to the US for a time, graduated. Then I came back to China in 2009, and I've lived in China in 2009 all the way up until January because I happened to be vacationing when the you-know-what happened in China and spread around the world. And no, I still can't go back. Cry me river, I know. But when I talk about teaching Chinese, it's because I've learned Chinese in almost every way. I also worked in a Taiwanese factory as a project manager for 6 months in Xiamen, manufacturing touch screens for cell phones.
Really?
For Apple phones, for Samsung phones, for ATMs. That was completely in Chinese, and it was completely crazy because I had to like have meetings in Chinese with these Chinese engineers who were way smarter than me because they're engineers. But I was just the project manager, like reporting to the factory boss and the sales boss. The sales boss is like, here's the big contract, get these things out on time, and the factory manager is like, we got to produce this, and Quay Jo, you got to get the team together to get it done. It was crazy. So that's a bit about me. What else? What other random questions do you want to know?
So So how did you get that particular gig in
I
Xiamen?
Yeah. There was a new guy who showed up at the International Christian Fellowship in Xiamen, and he had a phone, and he was talking because I was like, "Oh yeah, where are you from?" He was like, "Oh, I'm from Michigan." And we were chit chatting, and then he's like, "Yeah, I'm here." This is typical, but production lines being transferred from the U.S. to China, like that's yesterday's news, happens all the time. And he was like, "Yeah, I'm overseeing one of these projects." And I was like, "Really? Touch screens, iPhones? That sounds pretty cool." Like I've dabbled in several, like I've had several businesses. I used to own a window cleaning business. That was super fun.
Hmm.
I used to do one of those paint in China, like high-end photographers in the US for weddings send me the photos, and
Hmm.
I send it to like the painters in China. They make it real, and then I do it back.
Oh,
So I was like,
okay.
"This is really cool." And he's like, "Really? You think it's cool?" I'm like, "Yeah." A week later, I had an interview, and there I was. Got
Wow.
hired to be a project manager. It was kind
Huh.
of cool. Yeah.
So how long did that gig last?
6 months exactly.
6 months. Yeah.
Yeah.
And your Chinese went through the roof, I imagine, during that time
I
because
loved it.
it's that constant
Constant
battle.
all day, every
Yeah.
day. And I'm a studier. Like I
Yeah.
love learning. And so I had if you heard the app Evernote, you
Yeah,
know
of
that?
course. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I
So
was using it earlier today. Yeah.
it's so cool because you could take
Yeah.
pictures of things and tag them under different categories. So
Yes.
I would just literally, I found out how to say everything that was a part of my everyday work life just by taking pictures and categorizing it. And also, there were
Oh,
so many
okay.
technical terms because there's like the packaging manufacturing line, there's like
Hmm.
the photoelectric coating because glass doesn't conduct electricity, so you have to spray it with whatever stuff.
Right, right.
So there's that kind of coating production line. I was just taking pictures and labeling them inside of, and getting audio for it. I was learning like crazy. I had to write emails. That was intense. It was fun. It was super fun. Like obviously I'm excited about learning. It was good times.
So if I were to uh if I were to like ask you to explain how a touch screen works in Chinese right now, would you still remember
Oh
how
man.
to go through that?
嗯，因为我声调有点跑调了，我只能
嗯
说这种是一个触摸屏。然后触摸屏本来是，反正触摸屏是玻璃制造的，然后它本来是不带电的然
嗯，
后人呢是把手指放在玻璃上面，然后这个反正收拾这个手机里面的电脑，玻璃后面的电脑怎么知道你要碰到哪块儿，然后干嘛呢？它就是通过你身体。I don't know how to say it. 触发的电，然后你
yeah,
手，
yeah, yeah. I
然
was
后
wondering what you
I,
were gonna say there.
I have to make up stuff. I'm not like completely 100% fluent in Chinese. I'm just good enough
Right.
to explain my way. It's called like circumlocution, I believe,
Circumlocution. Yeah, yeah,
is the
yeah.
linguistic term. So
Right.
if you make me try to discuss scientifically how like the electric charge from your
Hmm.
body goes through the glass and it knows where you're touching, I can't do that.
Yeah.
Who can do
Yeah,
that? But I can.
but you did it pretty good because I understood what you were talking about. I knew the next phrase you were going to say. I was like, how is he going to say your body's electricity? How is he going to talk about? Like I knew where you were going. I could see a clear path. So like, yeah,
Yeah.
you don't need those really technical terms.
Right.
So
I can
you know,
struggle. I can
yeah,
struggle.
yeah,
I can
and
struggle.
that's very much the way my Chinese is as well. Like I may not know a lot of technical stuff, but I can talk around it.
Sorry, I'm at my in-laws' house right now, and the music just turned on. I guess. Hold
Yeah, I
on.
can hear it.
Uh,
I can hear
Kick me out of your
it.
stream really quick. Kick me out of your stream
All
because you're
right.
gonna get slapped
Okay.
for copyright. I'll be right
Yeah,
back.
probably. All right.
Yeah, kick me.
Okay. All right, guys. So for those of you who don't know, this is Quay Jo from Elementary Chinese. He's been pretty busy over the last few days. I've been seeing him in a lot of live streams, which is great because Quay Jo is a guy who has kind of been on the periphery of the YouTube vlogging community, and I appreciate the fact that now he's kind of stepping out and kind of and just jumping in and getting into into like streams. So he's doing it to promote his DIY Chinese community in part, but I think he also wants to take his game up to the next level. So yeah, if you just search elementary Chinese, just the phrase elementary Chinese on YouTube, you'll find him. So elementary Chinese, nothing else. He'll be the very first one that pops up. And yeah, we're going to be talking about his YouTube channel a little bit later. But something he is doing is it's hard to talk and type at the same time. He is doing a DIY community registration that is open like right now, and you can go there and check it out if you are abroad and you're learning Chinese, or if you're learning Chinese in China and maybe you're not really sure how to improve, your goals are really vague, you're stuck, you've plateaued. Yeah, then he's really the guy for you. He's the guy for you, and yeah, it's good. So, for those of you, if you like the sort of interview that we've had so far, yeah, go ahead and click that like button if you've enjoyed the conversation. And people who've been on the channel for a while, you might consider joining the channel because you get things like early access. I have a private Discord server that I use to talk with my supporters. And, I also have stuff for, sorry, hold on, let's see. I have stuff for, hold on. So Chinaville's got a comment. We'll talk about that in just a second. So I've got things like early access. I've got the Discord. I've got shout outs set up. I've got video call set up on one of the tiers. I've got a lot of things set up. So yeah, you can join the channel. It's right there next to the subscribe button. And Quay Jo is back. I assume that the music is turned off. We'll ask him. Let's see how it's going. Yeah, so
yeah, we're good.
I don't hear the music. I don't hear the music.
Sorry. I definitely did not want your channel to get hit for copyright. And I was like,
right.
Oh my gosh. Wow, you guys are really nice. They said like, 你的东北话，我的东北话肯定没有你的说的溜。
Wait, really? I don't. Oh, wait, there it is. Yeah. Yeah, that's Chinaville.
Yeah.
Chinaville is a good guy. He used to make videos here in China. He lived in Dongbei for a really long time. And he also lived in Japan. And then he went back to the U.S. Anyway, so yeah, he's a good guy. I don't even know if I should say his name because he's become very private. So, but still,
let him be private.
Yeah.
It's cool. Respect privacy. But
yeah, he's a great guy. He's me and him go way back on YouTube.
Cool.
So, yeah, cool. What's that for dialect?
And yeah. I feel like I'm off my Chinese game. Like I get so much from the environment, and it's been hard. Like it's been 6 months, and I've been sleeping a little bit. I've been having to watch a little bit like TV, and just with my Chinese friends on WeChat. But I miss being in China. Like so hopefully I really do keep like a decent Chinese accent, and at least I'll keep my ability to explain my way around things and just have fun, because it's like a mental game. It's a mental game when you're outside.
Yeah, so I was actually thinking about this earlier today. Like you've been out of China for a while. It's been half a year or more, I guess.
No, half a year. Yeah, exactly.
What's the first thing you want to do when you come back? Like, so like, yes, I'm back in China. It's time to go big. I want to celebrate. I want to do something that's very Chinese. What's the thing that kind of pops into your mind?
If it's just very Chinese, then for me, what would warm my heart is bubble tea in my neighborhood downstairs. Like,
yes.
Yeah, it's just, how can I say this? Like, you guys that are watching don't really know me so much yet, but especially while I was in China, I really valued going into like the local areas and just teaching the everyday Chinese. I would just take out my cell phone and I would go into like a shop and just the language that you don't get in books, but just like how do you get stuff? How do you communicate with people? Like, how do you say, like, would you recommend this, like, or
Yeah.
whatever. I just liked teaching that stuff. And so the people in my
Right.
community, right down from my apartment, they really got to know me because I was always in their stores, like,
Right.
and so there's this the Hushang Ai. Do you have that? The Hushang Ai
The
in
who?
your it's called Hushang Ai, Hu, like the Shanghai the Shanghai the Hu. Like 应该是
Oh.
3点水一个那个
Oh. Okay. No, we don't have that.
so
That doesn't sound familiar.
anyway, it's just a bubble tea chain, and it's
Oh,
it's
it's a
quite
bubble tea chain. No, we don't have that.
bubble
Okay.
tea chain. Maybe it's a East Coast bubble tea chain, and
Hmm.
so I don't know what other bubble tea is the best. What do you guys think in the comments? But
Yeah.
yeah, at any rate, I would miss that, and I would miss the banter because I really had like good rapport. Like people knew who I was. They
Mhm.
smiled. It's like we would chit chat. They're like, "Oh, you're making another video?" It's like, "Yep, this is all I do." Like, no joke. Life of a YouTube content creator. Maybe you get this too, Austin, but like for me,
Mm.
because my business is teaching Chinese online too, I'm always walking on my phone like this. And the Bao'an, all the like neighbors where I used to
Right.
live, legit thought that I was just like this, I don't know, not derelict, but there was like, this dude is always on his phone, always, because if you're like in China, like on your phone usually is synonymous to playing games, right? Like they don't want their kids on
Yes.
their devices all the time. Like usually if you're bored, like I know you guys have all, if you live in China, have seen the store clerks right there in the store at the cashier. They'll just be playing a game on their phone,
Yep.
or like
Yep.
or whatever,
Yep.
or QQ, or Weixin,
Yep.
and so people are always like, "What's this dude doing?" Because all day long, because that's my job, that's my business. I'm just
Yeah,
teaching
that's right.
Chinese, scripting out videos, and they're like, "What's he doing on his phone?" So anyway, it'd be cool to see those.
Yeah. And I've just discovered, I've made a horrible discovery
Oh,
that the YouTube studio actually has an app. So you can like go into your
is it
creator
really?
studio in a separate
Yeah.
app. So now I'm further tethered to all of the comments, all of the analytics, I can view it now. It used to be a real headache on the phone, but now it's terrible. I just discovered this yesterday, actually.
You're gonna
Yesterday.
be addicted.
So if you didn't know that, I apologize because I might have lost you some more time there.
You're gonna be addicted, and I'm totally gonna go meta for a quick second and say I like what you're doing with StreamYard right now. It's super cool, engaging.
Yeah, I enjoy it because you can kind of the connection's always good. There's no VPN, and also like I can kind of be the director. Like
Yeah.
if someone is kind of they're focused on something, you can pop over to them, and
Yeah.
then if you want a reaction to someone, you can pop over here.
I like it.
You can pop over to kind of this thing. It's great. I love it. I just wish I didn't have to.
Don't steal my.
Sorry, say that again.
Oh, you go. Let's go.
No, I was coming to the end. I love all of the little things that you can do with the banners and the comments, highlighting everything. It's great. It's great. So yeah, for fluff and fluff. All right.
Very
I wonder if this person's a dog person. Love seeing Black people getting involved in our little Chinese community. It is awesome. There aren't a lot of Black people doing stuff here. Like Watamaya was like the biggest guy that I knew of. You said there's tons. Like, are there any people you want to shout out?
Oh, I didn't mean. There actually are way more than a handful of Black YouTube content creators in China, but that was one thing I never knew about China because of the sheer number of scholarships that they give out to international students, many of which are from like the African continent. There's tons of Black folks in China. There's not many foreigners in China, but among the foreign population, you see a lot of Africans from different countries. And I like had the opportunity of meeting people from so many different countries, from I don't know, Zimbabwe to Burkina Faso to Namibia. Zambia. Sorry, why do I always mess that up? Namibia and Zambia to Nigeria. And every time I meet them, I'm like, I am the stupidest person ever. Like they're always like the students, they're like getting their second master's, their
Mm-hmm.
second degree.
Postdoctorate,
Yeah,
like all kinds of stuff. They're really they're
unrelated,
coming after it.
but
Yeah.
really related about the Chinese level of so speak about humility. You meet people that are good at Chinese, and then you meet people that are good at Chinese. So I had like a little medical issue a ways back when I was at a conference in Shanghai, and there were quite a few African students at the conference. And what happened was like something happened. I felt up close to fainting, like, and this had been an issue where I had already seen and consulted a Chinese doctor in Xiamen, where I was living at the time.
Uh-huh.
And so this student was like, "Oh, here." And so he came up to me. He's from Togo. Okay.
Right.
Togo is a francophone country. So his native language is French. Plus
Right.
he spoke a couple of like local languages. He also
Yeah.
spoke English, but he was already in his residency as a surgeon,
Hmm.
And you can elect to do your degree in English. Many people do when they're in China because it's too hard in Chinese. But he was doing his in Chinese. So this dude hopped on the phone and talked to my endocrinologist. It was a serious problem, like who was in Xiamen, and she's Chinese endocrinologist at like one of the prestigious Xiamen hospitals, and she was telling him quickly like some of the medications I had taken in Chinese. This dude is jotting notes in his third or fourth language in Mandarin, writing notes in characters, and she's like just rattling off stuff. And like, sure, his writing wasn't like Chinese writing, but he was
right.
notes. And then he's like, and then he's talking to me, and he just talked to me in Chinese because like you can't switch that many languages so quickly.
Right.
So, I speak Chinese, and I was just like floored. I'm like, dude is studying. He's in his residency for surgery in Chinese. Could take notes in Chinese, like doctor's notes. We're talking technical stuff here because he's speaking to my endocrinologist. I was just floored.
It's not just he has a headache. No, it's some for real stuff.
Yeah. And so he was able to quickly get the names of the meds and understand what was going on, and unofficially but officially tell me what I could go get at the local pharmacy that wouldn't conflict with what I was, because I was having different symptoms. And so anyway, crazy story, but mad for these
there's so many. Like I think I'd only met a couple of Africans in my entire life in the US.
Right.
But then when I moved over here, I started meeting them all over the place. But like, I guess what I meant earlier is like, there's not a lot of Black,
Americans,
like African American or African content creators on YouTube in China.
No,
at least not that I know of. I remember there was a girl named Kiara Dice who was in Shanghai, and then there was Brianna, and then there was like one other that
there's Loda Maya. There's Loda
Maya, of course.
Her channel is like Chinese Black Olive, and see, there's a couple though.
Okay.
There's a couple other girls, and they're more like in the, I don't know, the girl thing. What do you call that? They're more like the makeup,
the beauty guru stuff. Okay.
Yeah, like vlog me as I do my life. Like there's actually a couple ones with a decent following. They're kind of outside of our circle of learn Chinese or Chinese culture, or I don't know. Yeah.
Right. Well, if anybody on the stream knows, like, leave some comments, like, and we can shout some people out. And plus, like, I just want to know.
Yeah.
Like, I'm always looking for more people who are doing stuff here in China.
That's cool. So what are these random questions that you have? You had a few before.
Okay. Yeah, I did. So, but this is sort of the nature of a live stream, right? It sort of goes this way and it goes this way. But so, I was thinking about, the origins of the Quay. And I know you didn't come out of the womb curious about Chinese in China.
Yeah.
So how did the China stuff start? Was there like a person in particular, or was there a class? Was there an event? How did that all get started?
There was no class. it was not the stars aligning. It was not me praying and God spoke to me. It was literally a French girl. I went on a date with this girl in Paris. I used to work in Paris because I used to do IT technology. So I was working, and then I went on a date with a French girl because, single dude in Paris and beautiful French girls that look like models. And the whole time, though, she talked about this guy who worked with Médecins Sans Frontières. It's my French is horrible now because this was a decade ago, but
Sure.
It's Doctors Without Borders, and she kept talking about him the whole date, and it was because he spoke fluent Chinese. He was married to a Chinese lady. He was actually from the continent of Africa, though I don't remember which country. The point is that I thought our date was okay. She never agreed to a second date, but you better believe, 100% true, the next day, or maybe it was the second day, not longer than the second day after our date, I bought a Chinese book on the way to work.
Oh, snap.
At work, because I was at cafe, a cyber cafe.
Oh, man, I got to start studying Chinese so I can get more French girls. Yeah.
For some reason. But yeah, that was the motivation. I had not thought at all about learning Chinese before that moment. I knew nothing about China.
Yeah.
But after I finished my summer of working abroad, I went back to the University of Washington, and that is when I enrolled directly into a Chinese course. And the third week of studying Chinese, there was a study abroad fair. I found the booth for a Central University for Nationalities, Zhongyang Minzu Daxue. Shout out to anybody in Beijing, especially here in the Haidian Xu, because I lived there for 2 years. And Origin. I was at Origin.
Sorry, there's mosquitoes flying all around here. I'm not waving away your comments.
That's okay. Mosquitoes all over the place. I had music come on. It's all right.
Yeah, it's rough. Oh wait, yeah, your Chinaville is he's left a comment. I forgot about this guy, Asia Travel Guy. Do you remember this guy? Joel and Chiming? Yeah, he made videos back. I think he was living in Taiyuan or somewhere. Maybe in Taiyuan.
This is Shanxi province, right? Taiyuan.
Yeah. And then he moved to Japan. He lives in Okazaki now. And yeah, he's a cool dude. I've talked to him a few times. I'm actually friends with him on Facebook, oddly enough.
Nice.
But yeah. Okay, just saying hello. Well, hello there, Shiloh. Thanks for the love. Thanks for the love.
I just shut it back out.
Yeah, there you go. All right. So, so you meet this French girl, hear all about Chinese, and then you start studying all this. You study abroad. So when I like to always talk about this first impressions of China, like when you first arrive, because you're in Beijing, you have this idea from movies, what China's supposed to be like, and then you get here, you don't really know what to expect. Nothing can really prepare you.
Zero.
And it all hits you at once. Is there anything that stood out to you when you first arrived that you kind of said, oh, I probably should have been looking for this, or oh, I had no idea this was coming?
Yeah. Stupid me in the beginning. Number one thing that stood out to me is, it's really foggy, like Seattle, where I'm from. Because I got off the Beijing airport. I was like,
right.
Foggy. And then other people told me, oh, that's not fog. And I was like, really? Looks like fog to me. Like, no, that's not fog. And I was like, oh, okay. But no, seriously though, I had no idea, the pollution situation. But it didn't stop me. I was cool. You roll with it. Every country has their own thing. Another thing that I had no idea about was actually that the characters were simplified characters. So,
yeah.
Well, you don't need that history. You know that history, but quick.
Right.
When I studied in university, my program was in traditional characters. So I talk about my favorite textbook, but I had the traditional character textbook version. And literally I knew zero about China and Chinese and Mandarin characters. I just was like, oh, you learn Chinese? These are the characters. You want to learn how to write 学, like 学习的学. It has 18 or 20 strokes. It's normal. We just it's complex, right? And then I got to Beijing because I had zero history, zero idea. I didn't know. And so I was like, why can't I read anything? I mean, my Chinese was good for university, but horrible for being in China.
For life. Yeah.
For life.
Yeah.
But still, I was like, I can't read. Like, what's going on here? And then, oh yeah, simplified characters. Why do they use simplified characters? Oh, like we use simplified characters here in China. I'm like, why was I learning other characters? They're like, oh, well, you probably learned like what they use in Taiwan. I'm like, really? And like I had zero idea. So I won't even talk about like any of the cultural differences. I'll just straight up as a language teacher, don't start off like I did. Do your research, understand the difference, like respect for simplified and traditional characters. I can now only write like several traditional characters, but man, I didn't know anything back then.
Right. Yeah, that's a big one. I was lucky enough to research that particular part before coming over.
Right.
Yeah, but yeah, my thing was it was one of the sides of the city of Beijing, and also, all of that reading that I did back home in Chinese didn't do anything for my speaking. I thought this would have carried over. No, reading didn't help my speaking at all. So I was effectively mute. So yeah, it was that was one of my things. So what's the biggest challenge you faced in China so far in terms of settling down? That's an interesting question.
Oh, you want to go there? Okay, we're going deeper now. We're going
cameras
deeper now.
Cameras right on you.
Cameras. No, that's okay. I always say things in a respectful way, but number one biggest challenge of settling down is that I will always and have always been the 外国人 or the 黑人. 黑人 means black man in Chinese, and 外国人 is also a foreigner in Chinese. Now, for you Chinese that are watching the chat, I'm not saying every Chinese is like this. I know that not every Chinese person is like this. However, in general, when you're a foreigner in China, you're going to hear one of two things. Look at the foreigner, or if you're black, look at the black man, because we are in our own special category. Like
you're your own kind of foreigner, yeah.
Legit, like I hear it all the time. Like when I'm walking, like with my white friends, it's like kids, adults, anybody will be like, "Hey, look, there's a white Goran and there's a Hayden." It's like, wait a second, I'm a super special white Goran. No, but on a deeper level, I really enjoy living in China, and there's something. Like when you live somewhere for a long time, like when I lived in Paris, only 5 months, and I was able to erase like my American accent because French is a lot closer to English. And so once I did that, I still had a bit of a funny French accent. Parisians would tell me they thought I was from the South, like on the coast, either in like Nice or Marseille. But it was cool. So I was just regular there, right? But in China, because you don't look Chinese, it's just like there's this like barrier. And so and it's historically it makes sense. Like foreigners, like expats, always on limited contracts because of visa restrictions. So everybody's coming and going. Nobody's staying for a long time. But for me, somebody who I really value communication, contact. I'm talking to everybody in the neighborhood. One thing is like anytime I would take a vacation into like the south of China or anywhere else and come back home, most people I knew, even though they were like good acquaintances and they know my business, I know I got family there, like they know I do business, they're like, "Oh, 你回国了吗?" I'm like, I did not go home. Everybody keeps going home. I went on vacation. And then the other thing is like, when you're in like one community for over 4 years, like the same 小区, and you've been there and you know everybody there, but then like still conservatively, like maybe 4 or 5 times a day, I hear like, "Oh, 外国人," or like, 这个外国人干嘛干嘛干嘛干嘛, you know? I'm just like, first of all, I've probably been here more than you've been here, especially when I lived in like, lived in Xiamen. Xiamen is like an immigrant, not immigrant city, but more people come in from the countryside, you know, like Fuzhou, Quanzhou, Longyan, these various places, Jinzhou, like whatever. They come in from other places and they get there, and I'm like, I literally have been here longer than you. I know more about my local community than you. Like,
Yes.
I've
Yes.
invested money in here. Like, I have
Yes.
showed my apartment. I have like bought so much of the hot pot right around here. But like, you look at me and
Preach.
instantly I'm the Wygoran. I'm like, sure, I'm a Wygoran, but at least like
Yeah.
I belong here. Like,
Give me some credit.
yeah, give me credit, But
Yeah.
so like, there's always like, I would strive to be here and be really part of the community, and it was always like, I won't say never, but at the same time, on a bad day, there's good days and bad days in China.
Oh yeah.
Of
Oh
like
yeah.
just the attention you get. But on a bad day, I was like, will I ever just be accepted for like, hey, I'm here. This is he might be our resident Lao Wai, but he's not leaving, and he's here, and maybe a few times I was able to get normal conversations like, hey, what's up? How's it going? Like, how you been? Like, oh, you were gone for a bit. You must have went like traveling or on business, and it was.
Thank you.
I get a little bit emotional, but for me, because I spent 11 years there, it's like, and even now, like I'm stuck outside of China. Like, it's very hard. Like, my wife cries often because all of our friends are there. It's like our home, So
that's right.
Yeah. So anyway.
Yeah, I mean that's it's a real question and it's a real answer. That's real respect's real. So, but you are planning on returning to China, yes? Of course.
I am planning on returning to China. Yeah. Actually, my whole apartment is in China. It's in an extra room. Somebody else lives where we live now. It's all there. I got to get back, but visa-wise, who knows? Who knows? I want to get back as soon as possible.
So I heard an interesting little bit of news today that, AmCham, the American Chamber of Commerce, and like a variety of their partner companies are going to start flying their American and Chinese employees back into China. So they're starting to kind of let a few people in. Yeah, it's going to happen in August. Well, next month.
It's already been happening. If you've been a big company,
yeah.
For example, where I live in Tianjin, there's a large manufacturing presence.
Wait, you lived in Tianjin? You live in Tianjin?
Well, I lived, like all my stuff is still in Tianjin, where my home was.
Oh, I lived there. Okay.
Oh, you did?
Yeah, I didn't know you were in Tianjin.
Yeah.
Interesting. What part of Tianjin?
Why did it Meijiang? Meijiang. How do you even say it without a Tianjin accent? Because that's the thing about Tianjin. Their Putonghua sounds like standard Putonghua, but like it has like the third tone switches, and it's very close, but the tones are different. So I think it's plum and river. So I think it's Meijiang.
Meijiang. It's three and one. Yeah, Meijiang.
Meijiang.
Yeah, Meijiang. Yeah.
They're always like Meijiang. Meijiang.
Sichuan dialect is very much like that as well.
Is that even a technical dialect? I think it's like almost pretty much another language linguistically, right?
So, it's I'd say Sichuan dialect it's about 70 to 80% Mandarin, 20% new words.
Okay.
And tones are all over the place.
All right.
So if you understand and speak Mandarin, you will understand most of Sichuanhua if you use your imagination. It's sort of like okay, like if the first time you ever met someone with a really heavy African accent, it's like they're speaking the same language, just some things are slightly different. And once you kind of get used to it, it's like no problem.
Right. I worked at Intel.
Sure.
Back in the day, like legit back in the day, 1999, where it was like, ooh, Intel's big deal, right? And plenty of our Indian friends, like from the country of India, and stereotypically like super hard to understand until you got used to how they speak English. Because it's like, yeah, that's all I can say. You must get used to hearing through the accent. And not even an accent, there's like two kinds. There's like the regular accent because, you speak another language. But then like when they would speak English to each other, it was like the second kind of English that was just an accent, but the intonation was all. Anyway, I get it.
So, all right. Now we've been kind of going all over the place with these questions. We've been getting some from the viewers, and that's great. I want to shift into YouTube because we've been talking all about you, and the reason I know you is because of YouTube. But we've spent almost an hour and not really mentioned YouTube. I feel like we have to. So, like,
okay.
So, how did you get the idea to start a channel? Like, why did you do it? I guess is the first question.
Easy. The birth of my daughter. So nothing related to Chinese or anything. It literally was, my daughter was born.
I've never heard that answer before. Okay, yeah, tell me about it.
Yeah. Well, it's not something I talk about tons, just because my family elected to stay off of social media. But effectively, so I was a teacher at the international school, and now you're going to get a sappy story. Do you really want a sappy story? We'll desapify it. I was an international school teacher, right? And my daughter was born in May. So what that means in teaching terms is this school gave me paternity leave, so I got to stay at home through the end of the school year. So can you imagine, like, 3 or 4 months total at home, like with your newborn and your wife? And by the way, my wife used to work with me at the same school. So naturally, it was more about the fact that we could go to the same job. Like, not everybody's like, I want to work with my wife, but we were like this. And so then she was gone at home and my daughter was gone at home. And when I went back to school the first day, pretty much I cried. And it was a terrible mess, but I didn't cry in the meetings. But that day and that week sucked. Like, it was horrible. And I was like, I got to get out of here. Like, the job that I love had nothing that I really cared about, because family is everything. So at that point I was like, what can I do? What can I do? People are always asking me about how to learn Chinese, because coworkers and international school teachers coming and going. And that's what people always ask me about, like since 2009 when I was back in China living there. And I was like, okay, let's start a YouTube channel. So here is the official history of elementary Chinese. It's called, even though elementary can mean beginners, and I focus on beginners, actually the history was I decided to niche way down and come out with materials that would help non-native elementary school Chinese teachers in the US of A, where I'm from, teach Chinese. It made sense to call it elementary Chinese. I was already deep in like PDFs and plans of books and exercises, because I'm a certified teacher. Like, not many people know that. I'm certified to teach Chinese K through 12 in the state of Florida in the US, and general education K through 6, and ESL K through 12. So elementary Chinese literally got that name from that idea, and it took me 3 months to realize that ain't working, because it's not that many non-native Chinese teachers in the States. So there are a handful. I had friends at the time who did that. So, like, if you look at my YouTube channel, that was 2016. My daughter's just over 4 now, and it got created in 2016, but I started in December 2016 on YouTube, just teaching Chinese to the masses, and that is the history that you didn't know you were going to get.
Yeah, because I was going to ask you about the name of the channel, because like elementary could have a few, it's semantic overload. There's a few different, like me, I'm like, is he specifically niching himself to just elementary level, or does he mean like learning Chinese can be elementary, like Dear Watson, my Dear Watson, elementary, that sort of elementary, or is it elementary school? Is it like what? So now we know. Now we know. Yep. Okay, fantastic. So there goes that question. There goes that question. So, and one thing that I noticed on your Chinese on your channel was you have a very impressive list of collabs.
Don't quit.
You have collabed with so many different people in various capacities. Like there's like Charmaine and Victoria. There was Blondie, Monkey and Brody, like the twin girls. There's another one.
They were fun.
Yeah, it's really cool. And there's so many, like, there's like a list that's this long, of people you've collabed with. So, but of course, in the beginning, you were making videos by yourself. So why did you kind of what made you jump over into collabs? What was the kind of how did you get over the nervousness? Because I still don't like doing collabs 9 years later. Not really.
Okay. Well, let me just straight break it down to you. Collabs was just I like meeting people. Though YouTube actually, most people think YouTube is dominated by like extrovert people. Actually, YouTube, percentage-wise, because I follow one of these like big creator channels and their business is working with YouTube content creators and businesses. YouTube is actually dominated by introverts because introverts don't get their energy from people. Therefore, introverts tend to do better when it's just them talking to the camera. And in YouTube, you stare at the camera and you talk directly, you know, and introverts can do that better than extroverts who like extroverts come alive when the crowd is there, but introverts are cool by themselves. Right. So like power to introverts.
Yeah, for real, because that you just described me perfect. Yeah.
I mean, and the proof is in the pudding, right? So for me, I'm a people person, and also one of the first. This will tie into Shiloh's question, how to start a channel. But for me, I'm a people person, and one of the first things I saw was, if you have no followers and you want more people to know about you, just collaborate with people. And so I first started it as purely a tactical thing, honestly. I was just like, let's see how many people I can collaborate with. But then also another aspect was that in the beginning, nobody knew who I was, and people still hate now. They're like, oh, your Chinese is horrible. I'm like, yeah, I'm learning. Okay, I'm a foreigner, you know? But in the beginning, you got like confidence issues. And so like you understand, Austin, like for me, like the first, if you go back and look at some of my videos for the book reviews from way back in the day, people still are still leaving hate in the comments because they're like, dude, you don't blink. I'm like, I was terrified, you know, like I'll just stare at the screen like this, you know, and it took me like 30 hours to edit one video because I had to do like a million takes. Anyway, so that was the collaboration reason. And then also like I didn't have confidence back then in who I was as a person, what I brought as value. And so one of the easiest things to do is when you're at that stage and as a creator, you just interview people. And so also like you saw the twins, I was just interviewing people because I was like, well, I can at least interview other people who speak Mandarin and how they learned, and that will be good content because I wasn't confident in it yet. But now I realize that actually most people just want motivation and to see other people and how they learned. And so I still love to interview people. And now it's just fun to meet people like yourself who are really cool and just interview and have you on and back and forth, which you will be on my channel very soon.
Sure.
August,
I didn't know that, but okay.
You will be. Just FYI, I'm telling you. I'm literally booking you into the calendar for August. But so now back in the first year, that's what it was. Now it's just a joy to meet people, to collab. It's like it's better together. We're better together. People are better.
Yeah, and I'll attest to that as well because I remember like seeing because I did a deep dive on you. You know, I did a deep dive, and I because you know back when you were talking about the days of the week, like taxis, counting to 10, I went back.
You went back.
You know, I went back, and then all of a sudden you're jumping into like I love my favorite thumbnail is there's one of your videos where I can't remember the title of it, but it's something like he speaks Chinese, and there's a Chinese girl like this, and there's like, and you're in the thumbnail like, you know, owning the moment, and it's just I just had that realization like. It's that chemistry, it's that surprise, it's the humanity of including other people in the video. And I saw this change kind of happen over the course of your channel. And it was really like great and it's making me kind of reconsider things because, you know, I don't like collabing with people. I like hanging out, but I don't like working with other people. That makes me sound horrible, but like, it's still nerve-wracking to me, and it's cool seeing how you have evolved over the years. And speaking of that, so I have a little quiz of a couple of videos. So I'm going to show you a still image from a video, from one of your videos, and I want you to see if you can guess which video it is. See if you can guess which video it is, and then tell me a little bit more about the video. Tell the people. Okay. So, all right, let's go.
Let's do this.
Let's go. Share screen. Application window. There it is. Okay.
This is a fun interview.
So there's the first one.
No, that's not fair. You took a screenshot from within my video?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Well, I can't tell from 2 words. That was very recent because I see the yellow background. And when I was first stuck outside of China because of the you-know-what in 2020, I was in that. So that's by my Airbnb in China. Said, can you scroll?
Okay. The one before that is she said, you're telling a story about having a conversation with a lady. And then you're saying, and then she said, She said a Chengyu.
Oh, geez. She said a Chengyu. I was having a conversation with a lady, and she said a Chengyu. She said a Chengyu. Oh, in the factory. This is about the. Is this about the lady who was a manager when I was working in the factory? And she said, "Okay, no, I got it. I got it. This was about, do you need to learn Chengyu and how I hate Chengyu, but I'm changing my mind because if you learn Chengyu, the struggle is that they're not used. So you might learn one Chengyu, but it might not be used so often. And so then as a foreigner with limited mind or limited time, I'm like, am I really getting bang for my buck? Am I really getting a return on my investment if I spend time learning the Chengyu? Because I don't hear it a lot. And Chengyu help you integrate more into Chinese culture because while when you hit a high level, you can speak and say pretty much what you want. But a Chinese person, you might say like 20 words, and the Chinese person just pulls out the Chengyu, and all the Chinese are like,
and so you're lost. Yeah.
Yeah, that was from the lady who was my new boss towards the end of my Chinese factory experience, and she was motivating the team, and she used a Chengyu, and she said the first 2 characters, and like the whole team chimed in with the next 2 characters, and I was completely out. So I got that video, kind of. Oh, but that's not fair. I thought you were taking a thumbnail, not.
No, I'm not taking the thumbnail. No, that's too easy. Okay, so this one is a little bit easier. All right.
A little bit easier. Okay. Oh, that's Julia. Yeah, of course.
Yeah. So tell the people who this is, because I was very surprised by this.
Okay, so that's Julia, sweetest lady ever. She was Miss Brazil World in 2014 or 2016. I forget now. But
so Miss Brazil World. I saw that title, and I'm like, I'm clicking this video.
Yeah, so. It's just like what can I say? Like,
I had a question. Yeah. Within this video, I said, what was her piece of advice that she wanted to give to the people? Her strategy, her change that she wanted to offer to the people.
I don't remember that interview. Was her study just like be open, be like study, speak a lot of Chinese? Okay, there's a backstory though, because I think that video, she was being very nice to me. And
she was being very nice to you, yes.
She was being very nice to me, but it's because like she runs her business in China. Actually, she has a business and I have a business, and we connected on a business level, but also she was one of my students in a program that's only
Chinese Accelerator.
Yeah.
Right.
And
yeah.
I don't talk about that on YouTube a lot because it's literally only for English teachers in China, of which she was not an English teacher, but she begged to be in, and she paid me, so I let her in. But, well, really, this is like, I teach Chinese out of passion too, but like a lot of people don't know that I incorporated a business in China so that I could like legally teach Chinese and accept payment and pay taxes, because like I wanted to be in China long term, and so like do everything on the up and up, and one of that's like pay taxes, so like I could have my visa through my business. And anyway, back to Julia, since you put her on screen. So I think she was being a little more nice and like promoting like my, helping like promote the Chinese accelerator program. But yeah, that's Julia. She's cool. Sweet, sweet, sweet,
Okay.
sweet lady. Really kind
So
heart.
the next one, all right. What book is this?
I don't like that book. That's BBC Talk Chinese. Hands down, 100%.
Yeah, that's it.
Purple cover. It only has pinyin, and it says BBC at the bottom. But the problem is after I went through the book, but after I reviewed, I was like, I don't think this is actually supported by the BBC. I don't know, but yeah, I didn't like that book.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't
And
like.
so that led me to another question, which was, you've done things that I had never even considered doing on your YouTube channel, which are really good. Is that you did book reviews, like book reviews of Chinese, like Chinese characters, also like speaking Chinese, overall Chinese book reviews. And like there's quite a few of them. So I was just curious for your personal take on like what makes a good Chinese book? Like what makes a textbook really good for you? What separates a great one from one that's just like okay?
Oh, how can I answer that so simply? I'm evolving as a person and as a teacher.
So
okay.
So okay, how about this? If you were to, let's do it by level. So someone who's being introduced into Chinese, and what is a book that you would recommend for them, like an absolute beginner, and why would you recommend that book to them?
No, I can answer your first question.
Okay. It's a tough question. Yeah, and I didn't prep you for the interview, so
you didn't tell me these questions before, but specifically. When I look at a book, number one, I like pretty things. So I like books that are in color and relevant and pictures. But what makes a good book actually more has to do with, does it have audio? Like, because I teach this. Like,
yes.
I teach this. People actually pay me for results to learn Chinese. Like, I'm not teaching like a Chinese tutor would teach you Chinese. I'm teaching you how to learn, because most of my customers and clients, they are outside of China learning on their own. Anyway, what makes a good book is if it has audio, first of all, because if it has audio, you can read along with the text and everything, and you can much more easily go from wonky, messed up tones for one character to being able to struggle and say your way to two characters to being able to speak with correct intonation over the phrases. So that makes a good book. Also, another thing that makes a good book is there's this fine line. Like most books are really good, but they have a very sterile language that is removed from real world language. But they have to be. I get it, because publisher is not going to publish a book that has poor grammar. And these are master's degree holders, PhD, they're educated people. So they must make a Chinese book that teaches grammar in the proper way. I get that.
And there has to be a standard with which you from which like slang deviates from, and from like all of these little variations in the language branch off of the standard, which they have to.
They have to have that standard. So a good book is one that's well organized. But now I specifically just recommend good books to people without going into, well, what makes a good book and what makes a choice? Because frequently I find that, number one, some people, not everybody, fall into the trap of looking for the perfect material. What book is best? And really they're hiding behind I'm calling you out if this is you and you haven't got started or you're not really improving. Don't hide behind, I haven't found the best book and that's why I haven't learned Chinese. No, absolutely, that is false. There are people with worse books than you that are speaking way better than you because they put in the work. So I'm calling you out. Get to work. Don't look for the best book. But at any rate.
And as an English teacher, I have the same frustration. I think every language teacher will have the same frustration. But like in China, boy, people love textbooks here. They think a textbook will solve all the problems. And I have the same sort of, issue with you. It's like, just because it's a textbook doesn't mean it's good. Like, I told you last live stream, I learned a lot of my Chinese from watching TV and from social media and stuff like that, just like you did. So it's not just about the book, guys. Not just about the book. But I found that fascinating. I was like, he did book reviews in Chinese. That's awesome. Like that's really cool.
Well, I did them in English. I just reviewed Chinese books.
Well, yeah. Sorry, yeah. Sorry, yeah. But yeah, I just thought that was really cool. Okay,
Yeah.
and the last one. Let's see. The last one. Let me share the screen again. Application window. You're probably not going to get this one. If you do, I'll be very impressed.
I actually will get that one. That's either from the how to pee or the how to say hello video.
Oh, yeah. It has to do with a question. What's the question?
Well, one of the questions is where's the bathroom?
Yes, there you go. That's the title. Yes, there you go.
But you know why I got that one?
Why?
Because, well, there's story. It's usually story that imprints this. So first of all, that is a couch in my sister-in-law's house. And second of all, her husband. What does that make him? My brother-in-law?
Your brother-in-law, yeah.
Well, no, but my brother-in-law would be my wife's brother. Anyway, my sister-in-law's husband was standing right off the camera, like wanting me to go do something. And I'm like, dude, this is like, I need to produce videos. And he was like, okay, make your videos really quick. And so like I filmed only 2 videos from that location sitting by that couch. And that's how I still remember it. Because even though this was a while ago, they were both right there on the corner of the couch. So like I can remember exactly what that was because he was like, let's go. And I was like, phone, make a video. Anyway.
Yeah, hey, well done. I did not expect you to get that one.
You would get me, but
yeah. Well, and I thought because like generally, like I don't know, I have a pretty good memory with my videos. I've had people do a similar sort of thing to me before, and I've gotten them, especially with like distinctive edits, like when the she said, like if I had remembered putting that edit in, I would remember that visually.
Yeah.
So I thought he's for sure going to get that one. He's for sure going to get Miss Brazil. He's for sure going to get the book, but he'll never get that random couch. And
location and the story that went into the random couch, like. Of course, I can remember that one, but yeah.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So that's the quiz done for. All right. So well done. Well, I think I got 70%, 80%. Yeah, something like that. You got to pass for sure. Okay. And I think. Oh, okay. Another question I had was, what is a Okay, because in China, this is basically, it's a monolingual culture. Everyone, speaks Chinese here, a different variation of Chinese. And then they say, oh, it's a foreigner. He probably doesn't speak Chinese. Oh, he definitely doesn't speak Chinese. Foreigners can't learn Chinese. Yeah. And then you bust out the Chinese, and then they go, whoa! Do you have a favorite one of those moments? Because we all have those moments. Or do any stand out?
Those happen a lot. I really wish, as like a YouTube creator, that I had more on video because those videos are the ones that get all of the views. The views. If I could capture all of those moments in like without trying to like go specifically to get those moments, my video would blow up because every channel that has those kind of videos, like those views get thousands of views. Anyway. Anyway. I really can't. I can tell one that was a fun time, but I don't remember any of the ones where like people were just super shocked because it's usually it happens almost all the time when you're outside of where you're normally at, and like the same kind of thing usually happens, which is you speak Chinese, and they're like so impressed. They want to tell you your Chinese is good, but what they end up saying usually is that your English is good. And then you're just like, wait for it. They'll come around and they're like, oh, I mean, your Chinese is good.
Right.
Like that happens frequently. I'm not sure why that happens in that way, but that is a very recognizable pattern. They're like, oh, wow, 你非常棒. And I'm like, and they're like, oh, 你的中文讲得不错. And I'm like, okay, cool. I think maybe you saw one of these videos, but the Didi driver. That was kind of fun, and that
was on my list to watch, but I didn't get to it. Yeah,
So
dinner tonight took a little bit longer than I thought. That was one of the next ones I was going to watch.
it's a fun video, and it's one that I put up there. But actually, the history behind that. So here's what happened. Then I'll tell you the history. But it's a Didi driver in one of the nicer ones. I forget what the service is called. There's like, oh, the Zhuanche, like not the Quay Jo, but because the Quay Jo
Right, a really nice one. Yeah,
really nice one. So lady shows up, and I was out to take thumbnails for what is a DD driver saying when he calls or she calls.
Right.
Series on Instagram.
Ooh, that's a good idea. Yeah.
It's one of the original series that blew up my Instagram account. The other one being all the phrases about how to tell people not to take your picture, but like I just collabed with like good-looking girls all over China to do it. That was another one that blew up the channel. But anyway, so I get into the car and I'm like, I need a thumbnail, and I needed that thumbnail from the driver's seat. So I'm in the car asking her if I can. She pulls up. Imagine if you're Chinese, you've never seen a black person before, which she hadn't. So props to her because she was really trustworthy, right? But like, I get in her car and I'm just like, so this random guy gets in your car and he asks you in China, hey, can I sit in the driver's seat really quick? Because I need to take a thumbnail for my social media because I teach Chinese.
My social media that's blocked in your country.
Yeah. When you think about it, and understanding that in general, like Chinese ladies especially don't want to be like, they don't want to have their picture taken. She was a really nice and understanding Didi driver. If you think about it, like let's just eliminate the race thing for a second and just say, strange guy, Chinese guy gets into your car and wants to sit in the driver's seat. Anyway, so I happened to be going live on Instagram at the same time that I was walking out because I was like, I don't know if this is going to happen. I want to record it and see if she lets me do it because I needed a thumbnail. And she did let me get into the driver's seat, and she was also just a cool, chill lady. So then we were taking thumbnails for the video, took picture with her, live streaming with her. People were asking like where she was from. It was a cool moment. So I hacked the video and made it into a YouTube video and put it on YouTube. But that's what went down. And I think maybe it was because of the shock and awe that I spoke good enough Chinese. And maybe my smile, like, and she was just willing to let me do that. But yeah. So there's your question. When people see that I can speak Chinese, that happens.
Yeah, it's a great thing. I avoided being. This is going to be a video on my channel eventually, but I avoided being arrested in Shanghai solely because of the fact that I spoke Chinese. There was a misunderstanding and stuff had gone on, and like the police had taken my passport and had like the wrist ties like ready and all that. But then I was able to talk my way out of it because it was a complete misunderstanding. So, and it's just such a great way to disarm people because I've been like me and some friends were being extorted for money at this place out in the countryside. We were being extorted at this place that shouldn't have cost any money, but they were trying to scam us this and that. And then me and my buddy start speaking Sichuan dialect a little bit. And then instantly the guy who was like, he was like, I go like this, like cheers, Gambay. And then he starts like, hanging out with us, and then like he starts hanging out with us for the rest of the evening. And like, so yeah, guys, like if you want to make your life easier in China, you want to avoid arrest, you want to avoid extortion, you want to, sit in the driver's side of a Didi, you want to do these things, you gotta learn Chinese. It makes your life so much better in every imaginable way.
Actually, there's one way that doesn't make your life better.
Okay.
You want to know this little story?
Okay.
You have got to know when to turn off your Chinese. And I'm sure Chinaville and Xiluo, because they might not be, they seem like they're not Chinese. When you live in China, you got to know when to turn off your Chinese. And especially when you turn up, if it's already gone, to fake it, but bring back your very thick accent. And one time was when I was at the visa office coming back to China. And I won't go into detail, but like many people that go to China, you know how you go like on a tourist visa, and then you do some things that, maybe aren't supposed to be done on a tourist visa to make it
right.
There's a few places in China where you can do that. I won't name those places, but they're very close to the border and easy to come in and out. So I was doing this thing in the very beginning because, you got to get to China, right? Not that I promote that. I don't promote that at all. It's a very shady situation. You don't want to do that. Get a work visa. But I was doing this, and then I was at the visa office later on, and this is what can happen if you don't do things the exact right. But China, how it works is, it's there's gray. In like the U.S., it's black and white.
Yes.
Black and white, hashtags Black Lives Matter. But I'm talking about rules and laws and stuff, black and white. China, there's a big shade of gray, and you just don't want to get to the edges of the gray before things get enforced. Literally.
Right.
Usually.
Right.
So anyway, kid you not, I was at the visa office. Not the visa office. What's this place called? When you
entry exit bureau, immigration.
Entry exit bureau, the Churujing.
The Churujing, yeah.
Yeah. So and they're like, I don't know, maybe they looked at me and they're like, let's just interrogate this guy a bit. But they decided to start really digging into, like, they're asking, like, well, what about this? And they just thumbed through my visa, like, what was here? What was here? What was there? What was there? And I was like, uh-oh. And they're like, they're like, what's your name? And I look at them and I respond like, at first I just respond, sure. Like in a accent, I'm like, sure. They're like, what's your name? I'm like, yes. And they're like, what were you doing here from this date to this date? And I was like, they're asking me in Chinese though. And I'm like, 我是美国人. And then I was like, 我是学习中, like I'm just trying to speak in like really
right.
Chinese. They look at me and then I hear them being like, where's like Officer so and so, who like where's the guy who speaks English?
Right.
And then I'm like, I look at them, I'm like, 没问题, like 回家, I'm just like doing like really basic Chinese with a super
right.
And then like after say 3 minutes of them trying to ask me what's going on, like with my visa stamps, and them looking at me and them like, he doesn't know what, he can't speak, we can't communicate. They're like, okay, stamp, go. So there are times where deliberately you do need to turn off the Chinese skills and turn up the foreigner skills. So
yeah, so this is the classic ting budonging your way out of a situation. This is a well-known skill that every foreigner, should have under their belt. If they don't, they should, because it avoids a lot of things like that. You
don't want to abuse it too much. Like another thing is, if you're at a restaurant,
yeah.
you can sometimes use it if like it's a busy restaurant or you can't get a seat or whatever, and that's not fair because it's abusing like the kind of foreigner status. But I will admit that I've done it a couple of times. But
for sure. Yeah, I do it to get out of like I hate talking to taxi drivers and DD drivers. Just not always, but like, because it's always the same 8 questions, and like occasionally you'll get someone who's really cool. Yeah. Like you'll get a really cool guy, and you'll like add them on WeChat because they're so cool.
Yeah.
But like sometimes I'm just like, what? Yeah, and that's generally what I do in taxis and stuff because they already know where I'm going.
Mm-hmm. And you don't want to answer the same 8 questions. You don't want to be like, I don't want to tell you how much I make. Yeah, I'm a teacher. Yes, I like China. They're like, are you used to the food? Yes, I'm used to the food. They're like, which is better, China or America? They both have their benefits. Obviously, I'm in China. I like China. Yeah. What do you think about Like,
just make them happy. Yeah.
What do you think about your presidents? Yeah, I'm like, our presidents could be better friends. It's always the same thing.
Like our president is orange. That's what I think. Yeah. Time out. Yeah. So it's that was something I was going to ask you. Have you ever pretended that you don't speak Chinese? Of course you have. We all have done it. But the other thing is, I think the only other downside is like if you overhear someone talking about you, and it's not a nice thing that they're saying, and then you can't unhear that,
I did hear that, and I did shock somebody. It was in
Okay.
an elevator 2 times. Actually, it usually happens in elevators. When I'm in an elevator,
Yes, elevators.
multiple
Yes.
Chinese people in there. For me, I don't know about you, but they'll just talk about me. Not
Yes, for
everyone,
sure.
but frequently enough. I'm like, interesting. So I just listen, and sometimes I don't say anything because I'm just like I don't want to have another talk. But there's 2 situations. One time was when somebody was talking about the Heiran and Heiran are like this and like that, and I just turned around and straight schooled them in Chinese, and they're just like, "Blah." Like, you're right. You can't just talk about people in an elevator where it's clear.
Yeah.
Even if I didn't speak Chinese, I would know you're talking about me to
Right.
like
Yeah.
your other people. And this was like an adult. It was a lady. It was like a Chinese ayi. She's talking like ayi isn't older than me, not like a cleaning lady. And then the other time was when there was a guy that lit up his cigarette. Must have been right before he came into the elevator. And I was just, it was a day where I was like not having it. So like
It was a bad China day. Yeah.
it was a bad China day. There's good and bad. I'm
Yeah.
7. People are like, you're a Chinese sellout. Like, I'm 75% in love. Like it's enough to live there. And anyway, so I point at the sign. I'm like, excuse me, I'm learning Chinese, but in really good Chinese. I'm like, I'm learning Chinese. What does this sign say? And he like is like, oh, that's cool. And then he looks up and he reads it, and then he's like, yeah, it says this. And I'm like, then why are you smoking? And then he was like, oh, and put the cigarette out. And like, you guys that live in China, like, you understand the whole thing of like face, like
Yeah,
I just
exactly.
like I generally don't want to make people lose face, especially where I live, because it's like I'm invested where I live, but it was not where I lived, and he lost a lot of face because there was probably 4 other people in the elevator, and me and him made 6. So yeah, after that, I'm sure he at least didn't smoke around foreigners in the elevator before.
Right. Yeah, if you want to get into an actual conversation about it, yeah, you can ask Naka Fang Mian, which means like which aspect. So if someone asks you which one is America, which one is better, America or China, you can say in what way.
Yeah,
I mean, that's if you really want to get into it, which I usually don't.
Is good. This guy obviously knows what he's talking about. I never did it in such a more engaging way. Like the most I would ever be like is, oh, like 不好说, or I would make a joke to kind of make it clear that like, okay, cool, like, oh yeah, or just a Chinese something general, like, oh yeah, they should be friends, or yeah, 有点摩擦, like 摩擦, sorry, friction, right? Or I just give the grunt, the all-purpose grunt. You talk about that on your channel a lot?
I've never talked about the all-purpose grunt, but that's really good.
It's the all-purpose grunt.
I had never thought about that as a topic.
Means, it can mean it's a good thing in China. And
anything. I never thought about that.
Even to a direct question, you can just give the all-purpose grunt, and a Chinese person won't keep pushing. You do that here in the States, because somebody's like, oh, where are you from? You're like, they'll be like, no, I asked you a question. Where are you from? They don't know you, but now they're getting offended because you didn't ask them. In China, you're just like, They're like, so what do you think about like Chinese women versus American women? Yes, presidents really like, get this. Chinese people watching right now, fact check me, because I had a Chinese girl tell me in Chinese. The Chinese explanation for this is 我听到了，也没有什么特别的反应. Like,
I hear you, but I don't really have a reaction.
Yeah, I don't have a reaction. I don't have it's just
I don't have anything to say. I don't have anything to say.
All-purpose Chinese grunt,
Oh,
like,
this one. Or when Chinese say goodbye, like, how, it's the 10-minute goodbye. Yes, these are, oh man, I'd never thought about talking about these before.
It's cool. It's culture. It's
yeah, but it's one of those things that like when you're here for so long, you don't, it's just life,
Yeah,
I never thought about it from, yeah, that's interesting.
I like it personally. I like it.
Yeah.
mom is pissed. Like, I didn't know indirect. I didn't know that it upset her so much until I came home and she's like, hey, because, son's home. You want to get food that he likes. She's like, what kind of pizza do you want? And like, my first response is, whatever, good. I didn't even give her the grunt. I knew better than that. She probably would have slapped me.
I did the grunt back home and got an earful for it. Yeah.
She asked me what kind of pizza I want. And I'm like, whatever they have. I like this brand. And then she's like, no, like, what kind of pizza do you want? I'm like, well, that one time when you got me like these kind of pizzas, that was a cool time. And she's like, Quay Jo, what kind of pizza do you want? Well, I like Canadian bacon or pepperoni, but really whatever they have or whichever one you like is better, like just get whatever one of those two you like. And she's like, Quay Jo, what pizza do you want? Quit being. And I'm like, I can't not be indirect, Mom. I just told you what pizza I wanted. You weren't,
Yeah, I've done that as well. Yeah. Oh, it's funny. Yeah, I don't speak Chinese very well, but I can always tell when the telephone conversation is over. 100%. 100%. Yeah. And I think that's something kind of fun about language is that even if you don't speak a language particularly well, you don't have a huge vocabulary, that you can pick up all of these little things from repetition, from body language, from context, and things like that. And I'm sure, like you talk about these in your program, because I want to try to steer it towards your program because we're talking about language, but we keep failing to address the fact that you teach Chinese, right? You facilitate Chinese learning, right? So what I'm curious about. Well, I mean, I know what it is, but what I'd like the people to know about is I want them to get a kind of glimpse into your community. You call this the DIY Chinese community.
Yeah.
And can you explain the idea behind the DIY Chinese community first?
Sure. The idea is really, well, since we're just here interviewing, do you want the fully, the full, not just Chinese, but the idea?
Sure, let's have it.
So number one thing you guys need to know is this is a paid community, and we're here. I'm promoting it. It's my community, and Austin's an affiliate, okay? Which means that I share a little bit of the cost with him, and I love telling people that, and even people are like, oh, what do you do? I teach Chinese because I have been very privileged and fortunate to sit inside of my community. Yeah, it's mine. So I would say, oh yeah, if you're studying on your own, get on in. Because this is how I make my money. But also, I'm quite fortunate to sit in there and see the great results. I got screenshot after screenshot of the results that people are getting. And it's only for a certain kind of person, really. If you are outside of China and you're studying on your own, you're a self-learner, self-studier. That's why it's called DIY, do-it-yourself, Chinese. And you're just stuck because maybe you're overwhelmed. Maybe you got 3 books you're studying, 16 YouTube channels you're following, and 6 Instagram accounts, and you're really making no progress because you're trying to do all the things and you're going in every direction, then you're the exact kind of person who I help, as long as you're not above HSK 5 or upper intermediate, But so I help those kind of people inside of the DIY community, and it's really cool. I can teach Chinese, but I don't spend a lot of time teaching the language. I set up 2 things. A structure that teaches you how to learn and how to clarify your goal and how to make something very specific and doable. And then I help the people in the community make study plans for themselves that are actually achievable. We deal with expectation management, goal setting, how to follow through on a goal, how to make a Chinese study plan that's actually doable within your busy life so that you can continue making progress. Because my heart is that I went to China. I love it there, 75% of the time, and maybe 80%. Yeah. But you know what I mean, because you watched this whole interview.
Oh yeah.
And for me, that was one of the best decisions I made in my entire life. 3rd best decision in my entire life.
Yes.
And I also am very fulfilled when I can speak Chinese. So the people that I'm helping, basically over the past years, if you already saw my channel, you realized, oh, this guy's positive. He likes to also motivate. I realized through all these DMs and messages that actually plenty of people know the what. They know they can go get a book, and they know all these. This is the internet, 21st century. There's all these free resources out there, but people need help making sense of what to use for their specific situation, for their specific goal. And that's where I found, I'm motivating people most of the time, and I'm teaching them how to learn Chinese. And so that's what we do in the community. And it's been a great ride. It's 2.5 months old now, as of July 30th, 2020. And it's just been a pleasure helping people in there. We do it through like weekly Zoom calls. I also figured out something called an accountability team, which is kind of cool because when you're studying on your own outside of China, you're by yourself. And
so that was the comment that was left here. It's like when you're self-taught, you have the worst teacher and the worst student. So you use Zoom and you use a couple of other tools to accomplish this.
Accountability is big because when you're on a team of people and so setting goals and practical study plan it's difficult. It's a skill to master, like basketball or swimming. So I have people practicing this on accountability teams. So then their team members know, this is what Bree's a girl in there now. This is what she said she wanted to do in the next 2 weeks. And the accountability team members, they all have like an agreement. Keep each other accountable in a positive way, check up on each other. So some people are like dear diarying it, like, I studied today, it was kind of hard. I did my 10 minutes, and other people are screenshots of what they studied. And it really is a beautiful thing. To sum it up, I was collabing with Blondie in China, Amy.
Yes.
Collab.
Yep.
And she had referred a few people into the community, and we were just in a private Zoom call, just a thank you for coming in and how's it going, And she asked the two ladies how they were doing in the community, and I was like, I better leave really quick because obviously, like, they're gonna give like not the same answer if like the creator of the community is there. So I went to the bathroom, got water, and I came back, and we kept chatting. We kept talking. Chalking it up, and later on after that on Instagram I was like, hey Amy, what'd they say? Actually, I want to know. And she was like, actually they didn't say anything about you. And I was like, yes, because I have spent a lot of time setting up a structure to make a good community where people could make solid relationships, and with my guidance put together language plans. And really, like, my goal is not that somebody would be there for 4 years. My goal is that they would learn the skill of studying on their own so that they would become what I call like the calm confidence. Because I have this success path that I coach people up, and it's not a proficiency success path. It's a how to learn on your own. And when you get to the top, it's basically you can deconstruct any Chinese goal that you have in speaking, listening, reading, or writing, and make a 2-week solid workable study plan, do the plan predictably, and you're almost kind of invincible, like Kung Fu Panda when he learned like skadoosh, like, and found inner peace, Inner peace. You're happy because of the progress you're making, and your momentum is super high because you've hit goal after goal after goal after goal, and you can teach people. And that's what I do. So you guys that are watching, especially if you're the kind of person who needs this help, that is the link, elementarychinese.com/Austin. And come in. I would love to help you and coach you too. And I love practical. I don't like theory. I like practical. And we do practical things in there in a positive environment, but the results kind of things, because that's what frustrates me, is not getting results.
And that's what I like about your stuff in particular. I get really annoyed at teachers, and last time we talked, you mentioned it as well, like, who just say, like, we're gonna learn this, and then we're gonna learn this, and then this, and then this, and like, but I'm not interested in any of that. But like, your approach is like, find whatever you're interested in. I don't care what it is. Find what you're interested in, and then we can help set up a plan together. Like, you can try it yourself. We'll give you some guidance, and you can study what you're interested in instead of all this other stuff you don't need, like Chongyu, or like, which way is north and south and east and west? Well, I want to watch movies. Like, that doesn't really matter. Like, I love that you are interest focused. Like, that's what Chinese learning communities need right now.
I mean, it's big. It's really, it is what people need, but it's what we already knew. Like you knew it, I knew it. Everybody watching knows it. It's just we never thought to apply it to language learning. And so I push it into my language learning system in a big way because we do what we're interested in and we do tons of it. And we even do unhealthy amounts of what we're interested in. So why not combine interest with Chinese? Like, why not?
That's beautifully said. And like I know that you do have to go soon, and we've been going for quite a while. It's been
epic.
Like the time totally got away from me. I was just like enjoying myself, and it's been good. I think that's a great note to. Oh, thanks. Yeah, it was fun. Like, because I'm actually interested in you. I actually want to know what's the man behind the oddly spelled name. Like, I want to know what's going on. So yeah, it's been good. I really appreciate you coming on the channel, and yeah, please check out his DIY Chinese community. I will be plugging it on all my different social medias over the next few days. Because I really do think that it's something that everyone needs to take advantage of. Like, if you're that kind of person who needs help, please do it. Please check it out. So, is there anything else that you want to add before we go? Maybe 30 more seconds to plug anything else, your Instagram, your YouTube channel, whatever else.
Elementary Chinese on YouTube, Elementary Chinese on Instagram, like there, that's the plug. But I want to say something really important, which is if you started Chinese and you're a beginner and you're almost giving up, remember why you started. Because like, I believe if you follow through on your Chinese language skills, people will be affected in a positive way. A Chinese person that thought foreigners don't learn Chinese might change their mentality because of you. Another person who's non-Chinese that's learning Chinese that thought it's really hard might see you and get motivated. That's the biggest thing I've realized is when you meet people, it's all like, you know how it is, trolls on the internet because they'll never be seen. We're on the internet and we think we forget the real human impact that for the good because we don't meet so many people in real life that know us online. But when I have met people in real life, they've shared the most touching things. And I'm like, holy crap. Like,
yeah.
So you following through on that Chinese inspiration in your heart can really help change people's lives, go forward. And also, last thing, and it's actually really short, it's probably the best wisdom that I got from a guy. It was business wisdom, but you can apply it to any area of your life, which is whatever you're trying to do, and let's talk about Chinese, whatever you want to learn Chinese for, whatever or however good you want to be learn Chinese, to find out the quickest way to do it, go find somebody and ask them how they did it. It's called like, look at the results that somebody got, the results that you want, and then ask them what they did to get there. And then do those things. That's all I got to say. Like, that has really just helped me in my life and in my Chinese.
Yeah. I cannot think of a better way to end this particular live stream. That's awesome. So, words of wisdom from Quay Jo, Elementary Chinese on YouTube and Instagram. Check out the DIY Chinese community, elementarychinese.com/Austin. Please use that one because it's an affiliate. So please do that. Thank you all very much for watching. I love you all very much, and I'll speak to you again soon.
Bye.
Goodbye.
Thank you in the comments for being so kind, too. Like, you guys are really cool. So, yeah.
Yes.
No, really.
He had a lot of good things to say about you last time. But yes, we'll see you all next time.